Hello, you're welcome to Code with Laticotech. I'm Latif, and in this lesson we're going to be looking at conditional statements. This is going to be our CIF lesson. Now we're going to look at what conditional constructs are or conditional statements are. Then we look at the three types of conditional statement. That we pick each of these ones and look at their syntaxes, and then a couple of projects under that. So we're looking at the if statement, then we look at the rules to follow whilst using the if statement. We'll also be looking at the if else statement with the syntaxes associated with it. Then we look at the if elif ladder, and then we consider a project and the question and answer project. All right, so what is a conditional statement? A conditional statement, as the name suggests itself, is used to handle conditions in your program. So this is where decisions are made in your program. Okay, so conditional statement, they are fundamental programming constructs that allow you to control the flow of your program based on conditions that you have specified or you've set up. So within your program, if you have some conditions that you want to put that will determine on those conditions and then perform some operations for you, then you have to consider using the conditional statement. Now we have to take note that the order of execution of the statement in a program is what we call the flow of control. Now by default, the flow of control is sequential, which means the statements written first are executed first in the sequence. So it goes from the first line of code, then the second until the last one. So that is what we call the flow of control. Now, however, to change the flow of control based on a condition, you need to put the conditional constructs. Okay, you have to use that one. That will help to change the control, the flow of control of that one. Okay, it might be running stage by step, but probably if you put a condition somewhere, so if that condition is satisfied, it will go by that statement, but if not, it will go to the other statement, so it will jump to the other statement. So that is what we mean by the statement, right? So these are the three types of conditional statements. We have the if statement, the if else statement, then the if elif statement. Okay, so we'll be looking at the first one, which is the if statement. Now the if statement, it checks the condition or the conditions that is given to see if it is true or if they are true. If they are true, then the statement that follows that condition are going to be executed. So it is a condition that is set up with a statement or a block of code, and this block of code or the statement will base on the conditions that is predefined. So if that condition is true, then the following block of code will work. On the contrary, if the conditions given are false, then the flow of control is transferred to the new unindented statement, or stop running, or just terminates the program. So if the condition is set, the condition that is set is true, then the block of code that follows it will run. Okay. However, if the condition is false, then it either terminates the program or it goes to any unindented line of code that is following. So this is how the syntax is. So if I put the condition here and that condition is true, then this block of code will run. All right, so there are some rules that we are going to consider when we are doing this thing. Okay, so what? So every if statement, every else statement or elif statement must end with a colon like this. Now the statement within the if that needs to be executed if the condition is true should be indented. So like we've seen here, so this is the condition and this is the column. So the next block of code that will come based on this one should be indented, means that we should have a space here. Now if you are using PyCharm or some of the code edited, it automatically indents it for you. Okay, so that is what we mean by that. So Otherwise the control skips the block of statement inside it, so it will just, if there is no condition under it, if the statement is false to it will skip that one. Now the if condition can also be written in parentheses, so you can put it in a bracket and then you run it there, but it is not mandatory. So you can put the condition in a bracket and then you run it there, but it is not mandatory to do it. It can still work for you. Now there is no limit to the number of statements that can appear under if block, so you can have several statements provided the statement is true. You can have a couple of statements that follows that block of code. There is no limit to the number of statements that can appear under an if block. So that is what we mean by that. I think it's a repetition of that one. Okay, so let's take a look at the first project that we're going to do. Now we're going to consider a program, and this program takes age as an input. If the age is greater than or equal to 18, the output will be eligible for voting. Otherwise, the program will terminate. So that's what we're going to look. So we're going to our code editor. So this is our code editor. We're going to be using the PyCharm code editor. So I've already created my project, and I'm going to create a first file, and this file is going to be in the conditional if statement. So I'll create the file by right clicking on this conditional construct, then you move to file, then you go to Python file. So we give it if statement. So this is what we're going to do here. Right, so I'm going to zoom in so we can see the code clearer. Right, then we put our comment if statement. Right, so the first program we're going to do is that we're going to consider a program that will accept age and determine if one is eligible to vote or not eligible to vote. So that's a basic program that we are going to do. So we're going to look at that one. So our first example is on age limit to vote. So that's what we're going to look at. So we are going to declare our variable, so I'll call it your age, and then we accept the age. So say int, remember int is for integer, then we'll put the input function, then we put a string here, enter your age. So this is what we're going to do. So the user is going to input the age into this system. So if that is accepted, we are now going to test. So we're going to test the age that is entered into the statement. So we'll say if your age, if it is greater than or is equal to 18 years, so this is the condition that we set. So after pressing enter, you realize it has indented it for me. So this is the if statement. Start with the if, then and take note, you start with a lowercase, and then your age is the variable that we've already set up here. So if the age that is inputted, if it is greater than or it is the same as 18, then we will print a statement. You are eligible for voting. Let's put it this way. You're eligible for voting. So this is how the if statement works. So let me just leave some space here. Okay. Right. So let's run this one. So as usual, when you are running the first file, you click on run and then run again. Then you select the file to run. So we are running the if statement. So here it's asking me to enter my age. So enter your age. So let me say 20 and press enter. So after putting it, the condition is true. Therefore, it prints out you are eligible to vote for voting because 20 is greater than 18. Now let's rerun it again. This time I'm putting 18 exactly, and if I press enter, you are eligible for voting because it is also 18 is the same as the 18 here. Then let's rerun it. This time I'm going to put something like 16. Then it terminates. It hasn't printed the condition that follows it here. Okay, so it only terminates, but although there's no error, so since you see code exit code 0, it means there's no error. because there is no other condition block of code to run after the condition becomes false. Right, so let's take a look at our second example. Now let me see what we have. Now in this example that we are going to do, we are going to consider a program. It will check if a number is even number or odd number. Okay, so we're going to look at that using the if statement. So in this case, we are going to consider, so let's see, program to display, or let's use determine even or odd number. So that's the next program that we're going to consider. Now first of all, I want us to look at something here. With this one, before we go to this one, let me start with a basic example, then we come to this, because this one I'm going to introduce you to something called a loop, and loop is going to be our next topic after this one. So I will reserve that one. I'm just going to give a basic example here, then we can go. So we're just going to consider if a number is greater than or is equal to another number. Okay, so so let's just say we have a variable and it has a number 21, and we have another variable which is b, and that's what we can just say 145. Right, so we're going to check if one is greater than the other. So if b is greater than a, let's do it this way, then we are going to just print a statement and just say b is greater than a. So that is all that we're going to do. Very simple program. So let's run this again. So our first program still asking of the age, so we can just put anything there. Then now it hasn't printed anything, so that's the first program. Now this one says that b is greater than a, because b is 45 and then a is 21. Okay, so it says that b is greater than e. Now on the contrary, if b is not greater than that, we will then have another condition to be, but that will come under the if else statement. Okay, so let's now go back to the final program under this statement. So we are going to consider a program to determine even and odd numbers. So let's look at that one now. So first of all, I'm going to let me just comment here so it will be easier for us. I'm going to put out list of numbers, okay, which we can call it. So just looking at list of numbers, so let's declare list of numbers. So I can just say list of numbers. This is my variable, and I'm going to give it as, let me say 2, 4, 6, 9, 8. I'm just putting the random numbers here. So 2, 4, 6, 9, 8. So these are the numbers that I have here. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to use something called a for loop. Okay, we'll be dealing with this one in our next lessons, but let's just look at a brief of that one here. So we're going to consider for loop. Okay, so to use the for loop, we say for what do you call it, I. Usually we use I to represent another variable that is within a certain range. For I in list, in is also an inbuilt Python function, so we'll be looking at that one too in our next lesson. So we're just saying that for I in list of numbers, so for each item within this list of numbers. So if we pick this one, what will we do? So it's just like picking it at random. If we are picking the first one, what will happen? If we are picking the second number, what will happen? So if we pick the 2, what will happen? That is for I, which is inside this list of numbers. So I could be 2, it could be 4, it could be 6, 9, or 8. So that's what we mean by that one. So for I in the list of numbers, now we are going to check. Okay, we're going to check if the number, if we divide the number by 2, you know, even numbers, okay, even numbers, when divided by any number, sorry, when divided by 2, there is no remainder. Okay, so when we divide it by 2, there's no remainder. So that is what even numbers does here. Okay, so just commented that one. So now let's look at this. So to do that, we say for we will just say we are using if statement. If I modulus 2, remember we did this one. If I modulus 2, if it is not equal to 0, so we are setting a condition here. We did this in our previous lesson. If you have not seen this one, you can refer to my previous video on what do you call it, operators, okay, mathematical operators and other operators. Now this sign here stands for not equal, okay, and this one stands for modulo. Modulo here is if you divide a number by 2, it should give you the remainder should be 0. But if in this condition we are saying that if it divides by 2 and the remainder is not 0, if it is not 0, then that means that that number is an odd number. So we just print, okay, this is an odd number. Okay, let me put this one in a parenthesis here, this one like this. It's an odd number. Let me print the odd number I, which is the I. Okay, so I'm just printing that number so we look at it. So we just say this is an odd number. So we can also use another if again. Okay, we can so let's run this one, then we look at that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I want to highlight everything that we started from here. So just to do that, I will just say I'll select all of it from here to this. I don't want to run them, so you press Control and then hashtag, no, Shift, you put your hashtag there. Sorry. Okay, let's just put the hashtag over there. I want to remove this set of code. I'm taking it out. So we just run only this one and then focus on what is happening on it. Right. So what we are saying is that we have a list of numbers, and to select each number and to try on this one for I. So it is going to test all of them. If that number is selected and then the number is if it divides by 2 and the result is not equal to 0, it is more than 0 or any other number, then that number is an odd number, because any number divided by 2 with a remainder is an odd number. Okay, so we are printing this. So let's run this one and see. So this is an odd number, which is 9. So when we come here, 2 divided by 2 is 0. I mean, the remainder is 0. 4 divided by 2, the remainder is 0. So here we're talking about the remainder. And then 6 divided by 2, the remainder is 0. 8 divided by 2, the remainder is 0. But 9 divided by 2, the remainder is 1. So therefore 9 becomes an odd number. Okay. So likewise, we can add another if statement, but make sure they are in the same line with this if statement. I can just add if I, okay, modulus 2, okay. If it is the same as 0, we can print also this is an even number. Let me just print that I here so that we see that I. Okay, let's print this. So look at this. So it started with a 2. So here it started with a 2, and 2 divided by 2 is it will give you a remainder 0. So 2 becomes an even number. Now 4 divided by 2, it will give you a remainder of 0. So 4 is also an even number, 6 is an even number, but 9 is an odd number, then 8 is also what? An even number. So it runs the list started from 2, 4, 6, 9, 8. So this is a simple program to check if. So it, even though we've added it, we've linked it up to the loop, which we'll be doing in our next lesson. But this is basically how to use the if statement, right? So next we're going to look at the if else statement. All right, so the if else statement is used to execute both the true part and the false part of a given condition. Now if you observed on our previous if statement, we realize that if the condition is true, then the the code of blocks that follows it, or the statement that follows it, will run. However, if it is false, it will just terminate the program without running the code of blocks that is following the condition. When we come to else statement, it allows you to get both the true statement being printed out and then the false statement. So if the true statement is not possible, then the false statement takes over and works. So the else statement works in conjunction with the if statement to execute a code of block when the defined if statement is false. So if the if statement, if that one is false, then the else statement takes place. So we have the if condition done here, then this code of block will work. This block of code will work if the first condition, if this condition is true. However, if it is not true, if it is false, then this block will work. So that is basically how the if else statement does. So it goes with if the condition, you have your column, then indented, and you have your statement following it. Then you have to indent to also be in line with the if statement. That one starts with else, then you put the column. So with the or else, you don't put another condition. It only follows the first condition that it's either a true or false. So you don't put another condition here when you put the else statement. That will be done when we are dealing with the elif statement. All right. So let's take a look at some few examples and then see how that one also works out. All right. So let's create another file for the if else statement. So new Python file. So say if else statements. Right. So kind of zoom it in. So we are dealing with the if else statement, and this was going to be our first example 1. Right, so in this program we're going to look at to consider if a number is greater than or less than. If it's greater than, we'll print it out as a greater than number. If it's a less than, we'll print it out as a less than number. So I'll consider my 2 variables. So I can just call x equal, maybe give it 45, and y equal, let me give it 17. So now I'm going to check. So if y is greater than x, I'm going to print a statement that says y is greater than x. Now, where does the else statement? So the else statement comes. So if it is true that y is greater than x, then we're going to we'll print this, y is greater than x. So now the else statement comes down here. Else, if the first statement is false, then we say x is rather greater than y. You can or you can print it this way. Let me just add another print down here. You can print it this way. Y is lesser than x. See, that's the opposite way. So you can run series of codes under this one. So let's run a new file, run and run. This time we're doing the if else statement. So here it says x is rather greater than y, or y is lesser than x. So it couldn't run the first statement because if you look at it, y is 17 and x is 45, so therefore y is lesser than 45. So here the statement was false, it wasn't true, so it couldn't run this. So it jumps onto the else statement to run that one there. All right, let's look at our second example. Now in this case we're going to consider our previous example we did for the if statement on the voting eligibility. So we're going to do the same thing here. So let's just declare age equal, we'll put integer, int input, enter your age. So we're going to do that. Let's give it a little bit space here. Take note, when you are using the input function and you want the user to input something, when you come here, just give a little bit space here. That way it will be eligible for you to see the user to see whilst typing, so it wouldn't be mixed up with this string here. Okay. All right. So now we say if age is greater than or equal to 18, then we'll print you are eligible to or for voting. So we then come to the else statement here. Else, we print. This else now means that if the first statement is false, then the second statement has to print out. So you are not eligible for voting. Right, so let's run that one again. So we run. So our first statement, first example runs here. Now we're going to the next one. It's asking for the age. So let me put 17. So it said you are not eligible for voting. So let's look at the condition again. So the condition is that it should be greater than 18, or the number that is input should be equal to 18. However, we've inputted 17 here. So 17 is less than 18, it is not equal to 18. Therefore, it has skipped the first statement because the condition that is set there is false. So since it's false, the else statement takes place and runs it. That's it. All right, let's see if we can get another third example. So this is our second example, and now we're looking at the third example. Now under our third example, I want us to consider a program that checks if a number is even or odd number. I think we did this one when we're dealing with the if else statement, and you realize that with that statement, I'm just going to skip to that part so that we look at it. So let's go to the if statement. So when we got here, we had two if statements. Now both have conditions. So to avoid having so many conditions, since here is if this statement becomes false, then this should run. Okay, so let's go and do that one. So we're going to have list of numbers. This is more like a dictionary. I'm putting numbers in this one. So let me have the same numbers: 2, 4, 6, 9, 8. let me just add one number, maybe 11. So let's go on. So we are going to use a for loop again. For I, we can use any number here in lists of numbers. So we are now, this one shows that we are picking them. We are picking the numbers from this list here. Okay, so this is a list here. So we are picking that one here. So so this is the first if statement we are going to talk. If the I modulo 2, that is if it divides by 2 and the answer is not the same as, the remainder is not 0, because when you do this I dividing the 2, you are saying that this number dividing 2, you're considering the remainder. You are not considering what it gives you, you are considering the remainder after dividing it. So if it divides it and the remainder is not 0, if it is not 0, we're going to print we'll say this is an odd number. So I'm just going to print that number there, I. So when I do this, I'm printing that number. Okay, there's a way of also putting them in the form of a line from, so I'll just show you later when we come to even for loop. You'll see more of that one, but let's go on. So now I'm now going to put the else statement. Else print. So I'm not going to give another condition again. I'll just print this is an even number. Okay, so let's print that number. So look at the difference here. With the if statement, we have to consider having two if statements over there, and if you are to consider that way, your your block of codes are going to be so jammed that you just have a lot of code there, because if you are using both two if statement, that means that you have to have this condition on the other line again. So to avoid that, we just use the else statement. So the else statement is just watching here to make sure the statement set here is false. So when it is false, the else statement takes it. However, it can also run both at the same time. Even if this here is true, the else statement can also run it. So the else statement is checking all these things. So here it will be true. This one will be, if we divide this by this, it will give us the remainder will be 0. It will, so it is false here, so this will run. Okay, this one will be false, this will run. False, this will run. But here is true, so it is this one that is going to run. This is false, this will run. Then this is true, this will run. So that's what's going to happen. So let's run that one. Right, let me just put the other one there, 16. Okay, so now you are not, so we are considering this one. So this is what we are looking for. So 2 is even number, this is an even number 4, even number 6, odd number 9, even number 8, odd number 11. So this 11 and this 9, they were true, so therefore this line worked for us, and the rest were false, so the else statement has taken over. It's just the same thing that we did here. However, we had to have two if statement on both sides. So basically this is how the if else statement works. All right, so let's look at the if elif statement. Right, so elif stands for else if, so it's combined to get elif, and it is used in Python programming to test multiple conditions. So if you have multiple conditions that you want to declare, you use the if elif ladder. It is written following an if statement in Python to check an alternative condition if the first condition is false. Okay, so as soon as one of the conditions controlling the if is true, then the statement associated with it, with the if, are executed, and the rest of the ladder is bypassed. If none of the conditions is true, then the final else statement will be executed. So this is how the syntax is. So we start with if the condition comes in, then the statement follows that if to work. Now, when we come to the next line, we have elif. This one also has another condition. So if both statements are false, then else statement comes down there. So this is like a complete combination of the if, the else, and then the if else statement together. So that is how it works. So let's take a look at some few projects or some examples under this one. All right, so here we're going to create a new file to do the if elif statement. So that's the if elif what called ladder. So I'll make if elif ladder. So this is a new file here. So let's comment that if elif ladder. That's example 1. Right. So let's consider the same number. Checking on the if a number is greater than or less than. Okay. So let's look at that. So let's say we have a variable a, and we give that one. Let's use the same 45, and then b. Let's give it 17. Now we are now going to check if b is greater than a, then we want it to print something for us, and it will say b is greater than a. Okay, now let me use the lowercase b here. Let's go to the next one. This elif statement, it also gives a condition, so you indent it to match the if statement. Okay, don't continue from here. You have to back indent it to match. So you type elif, then another condition. If it is the a that is greater than the b, then we should print also that a is greater than b. Then now if both statements are false, then we can print not applicable. So we're going to look at this one. So let's run and run again. So we are doing the if elif ladder. So a is greater than b, so let's check on this one. So when we come here, print b is greater than a. We are checking the first condition. If we observe here, this is b and b is 17, a is 45. So we know that b is not greater than a, therefore this statement is false and it was not run. So we go to the next condition that says that a is greater than b. So it is true that a is 45 and b is 17, so a is greater than b. So therefore that line of code runs for us. You can see it there. But this one did not run because at least one of the statement is true. Suppose both were false, then we wouldn't have it that way. For instance, if I put here to be 17 also, that means they are all equal. So if I run, it is the else statement that is going to work for us, not applicable, because both statements are false. They are equal, not greater than each other. So that is the first example we're going to consider here. Let's look at our next example. And this is a big program that we're going to consider. We're going to consider a program that will accept marks in 5 subjects. Okay, let's just use that from a user, or maybe they use here, and then it will calculate the percentage and displays the grade based on the criteria that we are going to give here. Okay, so let's look at the criteria. I'll just type the criteria as a comment for you to see. The criteria is that if you get greater than 85, then we give you grade A. Okay, and if you get grade 70 and less than or equals 80, we'll give you B. Okay, so if we have something like greater than 85, then I'll give you A. Okay, then the other condition is if it is 70 and it is less than or equals to 80, okay, then I'll give you B. Then we also look at the other one, which is 60 and 60 or bet, less than or equals to 70, and that one I'll give you a C. And then the other condition is 45, or let's say greater than greater than 45 but less than or equals to 60, and that should give us a D. Then finally, if it is less than or equals to 45, we just give you an E. So these are the conditions that we're going to consider. Right, so let's get started. Right, so here we'll make it greater than that. So right, so we're going to declare here the lists of, let me comment this, lists of subjects, okay, for you to input. So we call the first one eng for English. Then we say int input. So we just say enter marks for English. So I'm just going to copy this one and repeat it just to change the subject. So I'm going to the next one. This will be maths. I'll call it maths, so for subject for mathematics. And repeat it here. So that's our third subject, and we're going to consider, we could just call it sci for science. Then the next one, let's use com for computer science. Then we can also consider geo for geography. Right, now let's look for the total. Okay, so the total, we're going to look at the total for that one. All right, so I want us to consider something else. Instead of the grade, we can use remarks just to give that, but let's do something. We're going to call a total percentage. Okay, we're just going to get a percentage of all the subject that one gets, and then we use that to determine. Okay, I want to make it a little bit shorter, else we have to go each subject to give those conditions. So I'll just call total percent equal. So we are adding all of this. We adding eng plus maths plus sci plus com plus geo. Now these will be the total. So suppose you have 100 in all, and since there are 5 subjects, that is total of 500. Okay, we divide that by 100, and then to get a percentage, we multiply by 100. Okay, so let me just I will just add a little bracket here. So after I get the total, this will give me the total, the bracket inside will give me the total, and then I divide it by 500, because that is the total. If you get all 100, that is 5 subjects, so you get 500. Now when to get the percentage, we then multiply that one by 100. Sorry. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use that one to do the conditions. So let me minimize it. So if you get what do you call it? So if the total percent is 100, then we give you grade A. Okay, so we're just dealing on this one. Otherwise, you can do it for each of these subjects. Okay, so you can use this, and then on that you have to give the conditions for all these things here. So I'm just going to use this one. So let's just say if total percent, first of all, let me print this so we see what we have. Print total percent. So we will be looking at it once we print out. We will see how it looks like. So if total percent is greater than 85, we are going to print printing. So you are a grade A student. I'm going to make it this way, so let me just repeat this one. I'll copy it. Now we'll go to the next one. So it's not going to be else, it's going to be elif total percent. So now we're going to consider this one, so which is a greater than 70, and so this is what we called let me just write this one, total percent. So the other condition is less than or equal to 80. Then what are we going to print here? You are a grade B student. So let me explain this further. Okay. Total percent. Okay. So here we're saying that if the total percent is greater than 70, and at the same time, so that's the end here, end operator here. You can refer to my previous video on Python operators and you get to know how to combine these things. And the same total percent is less than or is exactly 80. So we are getting a range from what do you call it? We're getting from above 70 to 80. So we'll give that person grade B. Now we go to the third elif. Elif total percent. So we are considering this statement here. Okay, is greater than 60 and total percent is less than or equals to 70. So that's the other condition here. We're dealing with this condition here. Okay, so that's the greater than that. So we also print, so this will be a grade C student. Then we go to the next elif total percent. We're considering the next one, which is 45 and 60. Is greater than 45 and total percent is less than or equals to 60. Then we also print this to be a grade D student. Then finally, the last one is about 45. So anything that is kind of less than 45 or equals to 45, okay, is going to be grade E. So to do this, instead of putting in a condition, we just put else and just print you are a grade E student. So that should do it. Okay, so let's run this one. Okay, so we're running this one. So English, let's put the marks for English. Let's say 78, mathematics 89, science 98, computer science 100, geography let's 76. So watch here, I asked you to print the total for us to see. So this is the total percent that we have. So we now say you are a grade A student because it should be from 80, 85 above. So that is how that statement works. Let me just minimize it so you look at the code very well. So we allow the user to input and we get the total dividing it by the actual amount to get, which is 500, and we convert it to percentage by multiplying by 100. So here we just printed to see what will happen to the total here, and now we set the first condition here, which is if it is greater than 85 we give grade A, but if it is greater than 70 but less than or equals to 80 we give that person B, else if the total is greater than 60 but less than or equal to 70, we do that one. Then the last one, since we don't have other conditions, we just consider that the last one we use the else statement to print it out. So this is how the elif ladder works. Okay, all right, so we are going to end this one with another project. So we're just going to consider a question and answer project using the if else statement. So let's take a look at it. Right, so let's look at that. I'm just going to create a file here and we do that one. So let's call it question and answer project. All right, so zoom that out. So first of all, we're going to, it's like a game, so let's print something to welcome the player. So you can just print hello, here, welcome to my game. So we can just print something there. Okay, then we're going to declare a variable on the, we just call the variable are you ready? So that's the variable, and that is, we're going to let you input something, input so we put do you wanna play my game? So we're asking the user. Now we're going to consider an if else statement here. Now if are you ready? Now there are some things that we also consider here, and we call them methods. Okay, so let me just finish this before I show you why we need those methods here. So if are you ready, if the answer the person gives to me is no, if the person types no, then I'll just quit because the person is not ready to play. So we just type there quit. Then else, okay, we can also use the elif. Elif, the person type yes. I get it. So let's use the elif here. Elif, are you ready? If the person type yes, then I can just print okay, let's play, something like that. All right, so let's try this one, then we continue with the other aspect of the code. So I'm just going to run this, run and run again. So we are dealing with the question and answer. So hello, welcome to my game. Do you want to play my game? So if I type watch, I type no, the game terminates. Let me rerun that again. Now if I type yes, then it says okay, let's play. Now what if I type my yes in caps? The game terminates. It is not printing okay, let's play. Okay, now the reason is that I have trained this code, okay, or I've designed it to accept these keywords here as in lowercase yes and lowercase no. So when you're designing a game, you want to avoid this one. We use what we call methods to do that, and some of the methods are upper or lower. So I will then tell the program that regardless of the case that the person type, you know, someone could type, even the yes could be this way and a big S, or you can have a small y, a big E and a small y. Okay, so to avoid this one, what you do is that on each of these variable that you've provided, you can just add dot lower. So whatever be the case that the person types, then it should convert it to a lowercase, key, string. So let's rerun this one again. So are you ready? Now I'm going to type yes as in this way. Then let's run it. So before that, let me see. I want to print our answer to see what we've actually typed. Print. Are you ready? Let's print what we've typed to see it whilst we're running it. So let me rerun this. So I'm going to type as in yes with caps, everything caps, and press enter. So it has printed it out for me, but it changed it to a lowercase and allowed this to play. Okay, so even though I've typed it in uppercase like this, but it has allowed this to work for me since I've asked for yes. All right, so that is method for you. All right, so let's go on to the next stage of the code. Now we are going to declare counting the scores that we are going to get and the total questions. So what we'll do is that we'll just put count and we'll declare it to be 0. Remember, when you declare a variable, it's not supposed to be left empty. You have to assign something. So if there's nothing, you just assign 0 to it. And then the score that we are going to get, let's also so we're going to get the scores, and then we'll also be counting the total questions that is asked. So let's look at the first question. So we just type this as question equal input. What is the full meaning of NIC? Okay, so we're going to do that one. We can put a question mark here. That's okay. Then we come here. So now, after asking the question, we have to count the question. So count equals to count plus 1. That's first question. So this is how to count it. So we are counting that first question. Now, so the person we're not going to set a condition here. Okay. So if the question, however, if the person type it, convert everything to lower. If it is equals to, so we type the meaning, the actual meaning. I will just put this one. The actual meaning is network card, interface card. So if this condition is satisfied, so I've typed it in lowercase. However, if the person types it in uppercase, it will convert it to lower because I used the lower. So if the person inputs it, and then, so this is where the input comes in. So if the question, the answer that the person input is exactly as these words here, then we are going to let's print the inputs. Let's print question here. Let's print and see what the person will actually type in there. So we'll print it there, and we now add the score, because if it is correct, then score is called score plus 1. Okay, this is part of the operators that we did, so you can go back to my previous videos and look on Python operators. Now we just print something to show that the person has won, so we can just say wow, bravo, something like this. Okay, then so that is one there. Now we can bring an else statement here. Else we will print wrong answer, something like that. So that is it. Now we can also add more question by giving, you can just go again, type question equal input then we say what is the full meaning of let's say CPU. Okay, so that's the question asked. Then we count the question. Count equals to count plus 1. So remember, always if there's any question, you have to count it. Okay, so if you ask a question, you count the question. So it's going to be that plus that one. So then we come to this here. After counting, we then look at what the person will type. So we are given a condition here. If the question, that's in this case the answer that the person gave, is equal to, so the actual answer will come here, central processing unit. So if the answer is central processing unit, sorry, is equal to, should be this one, not assigned what you call a symbol. We are using the equal to. So if it is central processing unit, let's print the way the person typed the answer. So print question, and then we look at the score. So score will be equals to score plus 1. So if the condition is set, so make sure what is the difference. This place we use the count, it is indented with this. Now this side here, it cannot be indented with the if because it is waiting for the condition to wait before it can start giving us a score. Then we also print great job. Okay, now if that one also false, is false, then we can print wrong answer. Let's just add the third one. So following the same rule, we just go to question and then we say input, because you want the user to input. They ask the question, what is the full meaning of GUI? So let's use that one. Then we count the question. So count equal count plus 1. Now we give the condition now. So if question is the same as, so GUI, graphical user interface. So if it gives us this answer, let's print the question. That is, we are printing how the person typed it. Then we now give the score. Score equal score plus 1. And then we give the else statement for this one to else. We just print, so we just say wrong, or you can say incorrect. Okay, so let's run this one and then we will now come and see how we can display our what do you call it, scores. Okay, so I'm running it. So do you want to play? So I'm saying yes. What is the full meaning of NIC? Now you can observe that after the question mark, it is so close to the question mark. Like, that's what I keep saying. When you are typing, you make sure that, so the input aspect, I just give a space here so that when the user is going to type, it will be far from that one. So let me rerun this one, and then yes, full meaning of NIC, so network interface card. So it has printed what I've typed, the network interface card, and says wow, bravo. And what is the full meaning of CPU? So we are not seeing our score yet. We'll get to see the score at the end of it. Let me say central process unit. I'm going to spell it wrong, and it says wrong answer because it's processing. Then GUI, graphic uses interface, wrong is incorrect. So that is how we can use the if statement within this program. Now let's see how we can get our score out of this one. So we're going to look at how to get our score out of this one. Right, so Now we can just print finally. So after the conditions, we just come out and print. And here I want us to use the what do you call the formatted string method. So I just use F and I'll type your score is, then we put this curly braces inside and type score. Your score is that out of the questions, so the questions out of the count. Okay, so it will count our score out of the count, so that's why we're counting it. So each question will show that how many questions we've done that, so out of the count. So let's run this again. Yes, network interface card, central processing unit, graphical user interface, and it says your score is 3 out of 3. So you see that I've got it right. Let me run this and then try to get some wrong. Yes, network interface cars, central processing unit, graphical road user. So I got only 1 correct and the rest wrong, so I got 1 out of 3. So this is how to apply the if statements or the conditional construct in your daily programs that you code. Okay, so we can have the elif statement here, because here we are considering 2 conditions here, right? Okay, and here you can even add the else statement here. So if the person is not ready, else, we can just say something, what do you call it? Just say better luck next time, something like that. So if the person did not give any of the answers, okay, so you can just use that one day. Right, so when I write this one and I type, if I press enter without typing anything, these conditions here did not work, but it has printed better luck next time, because these ones, since there's nothing there, that means they are false. Okay, let's rerun that and then type I don't know. It says better luck next time because you don't know, so it comes with that one. Okay, so that is it for the if construct. If you have any question or any comments, if you've seen any error there in my coding, you can leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Take care and stay safe. Bye for now.